Welcome to the New Rugged Order podcast, exclusively on the Hard Knock Digital Culture channel. Now give it up to your host, people, MM2K.
What's up, people? What's up, people? What's up, people? It is your boy MM2K of PNTS Network and Hard Knock Digital Culture, back again with another episode of NRO Live. This is episode 29. We kind of hit the reset button because I went through like 45 minutes of bibble babble. And I can't help but do that. You guys get me off Keister. You guys get me off Keister where I start talking about different things. Let me see here. We are past. We are finished with show open. And now in the meat and potatoes of today's topics. Join us live. All right, and then we're going to put Twitch. Yeah, Cold Blood started that. Blame him. Twitch.tv/Mighty Most 2000. Do that, and let's put a fire up there. There we go. So check it out. I mean, I think it's still a great 45-minute open where because Cold Blood asked a question about people being upset that Baldur's Gate isn't on the Nintendo Switch and isn't on Xbox. So we went through that history real quick. You know, I always get amped up and riled up when we talk about that. But now we're back to our regularly scheduled program. We are here. Oh, excuse me. So let's talk about it. Again, we got how did Xbox get here? The finale. And we're going to do that in the form of an episode of the capsule. That's where you guys get to hear me do it live. I record a video for me to put on the YouTube channel. And if you don't know, the YouTube channel is this. It's youtube.com/@MM2K Gaming. That is the YouTube channel. So you definitely want to join us there, and you'll see the live video there. And then all of our VODs, like a day or so after they're here, if you prefer YouTube as a platform, we put them there. All right. So we're going to be talking about that because we've been doing an ongoing series this week where we're like, how did we get here with Xbox? Like, how did I get here as far as a content creator, always piling on them, fanboy, pony boy, right? How did I get here with Xbox? I know I need help. How did a lot of gamers that are also quote unquote pony boys like me or trying to placate to the PlayStation crowd? You're right. The PlayStation crowd doesn't accept cloud gamers. They just don't. So that's just silly on the surface. But how did we get here with the platform? How did the platform get here? Were there the ire of conversation, meaning there's always a negative overtone when they're being talked about? Why is there always civil wars within the Xbox community about what they're doing? All that fun stuff. Why are we here so much about Xbox? Like, this is the Xbox next to Stadia. Xbox has to be the most negatively talked about platform ever, next to Stadia. All other platforms, even though they got beat by PlayStation handily as well. People love the N64. People love the Saturn. I mean, the Saturn gets some lumps here and there, but you know, you generally hear decent stuff about the Saturn. You generally hear decent stuff about the Dreamcast. Microsoft just gets lumped up all over the place. Why is that? How did we get here? Well, contrary to what some would lead you to believe, it's not by accident. We're going to talk about that. Then we're going to touch more on the Baldur's Gate 3 debate. People are saying that it's game of the year. People are saying that the quality is too high. I mean, there's just a bunch of things being said about this game. We're going to talk about it. And lastly, I just want to talk about my experience with 2023 gaming in general and give my thoughts on it. Might be controversial, whatever. People might not care. We'll get into it. But first and foremost, let's do this video. All right. So what I'm going to talk about here is, again, I am going to end our series. Doesn't mean I'm still going to be a pony. I'm gonna stop being a pony on Xbox. No. What it means is, and I'm just joking. We're going to scrutinize whoever we need to scrutinize, and that's not going to stop. But there's a particular series that I've been running to where I've been trying to delve into the history and help newer gamers understand how we got here as a community, how I got here as a community. For those of you that don't know the history, let's talk about it. So I'm going to do this video, got a script for it, and then we'll talk about it on the back end. So let's do that. And in order for us to do that, we have to do this. Mute that, go here. And I'm going to do this in 3, 2, 1. What's up, people? What's up, people? What's up, people? It is your boy MM2K of PNTS Network and the Hard Knock Digital Culture, back again with another episode of The Capsule. Now, this is the snippet show where we talk about the latest and greatest in the happening in AAA genre-defining gaming news. And boy, oh boy, do we have a doozy for you today. Today's video is titled "The Evolution of Xbox and PlayStation, Lessons in Competition and Innovation Learned." And this is going to be our finale of a current series that we're running. You may have seen previous podcasts around this where we're talking about, quote, how did we get here with Xbox? There's a lot of new gamers out here, a lot of people that don't understand the dynamics, why people are bickering or infighting within the Xbox community, why Xbox is like one of the most lauded platforms. Like, why are they one of the most lauded and negatively talked about platforms in gaming history? How did this come about? The maker of Halo and the curator of Gears of War and Mass Effect and BioShock, how are they seen in such a negative light where other platforms that were not as near successful or looked at more favorably? We're going to talk about all that. All right. But before we do all that, do us a huge favor. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and rock those bells for notifications, please, so you know when we're dropping these doses. All right, so let's get started. We want to welcome you. And in this video, we're deep diving the evolution of Xbox and PlayStation, their promises, pitfalls, and the importance of healthy competition in the shaping of the gaming future. All right, so we're going to do this in several sections. So let's start off with section 1. The significance of healthy competition. Look, gaming history is marked by fierce rivalry, driving innovation and excellence. Xbox and PlayStation have been at the forefront, battling for supremacy. Competition has fueled their drive to deliver top-tier AAA games, pushing the boundaries of creativity. Now, Xbox burst upon the scene with captivating AAA titles that defined the sixth generation in so many ways when it came to Western development. Iconic games like Halo, Knights of the Old Republic, and Gears of War became hallmarks of Xbox's identity. Now, PlayStation's dominance was challenged by Xbox in the 7th generation. And with that success, it was spurring them to redefine their strategy. Sony's pivot led to the PlayStation 4, a console beloved by developers and gamers alike. The scrutiny and competition between these two giants have inspired innovation, shaping the gaming landscape as we know it today. All right. So, but let's get into the nooks and crannies of why the ire for Xbox. What is behind it? Let's talk about it. Section 2, Xbox's unfulfilled promises. Now, the last decade has seen Xbox promise grand visions for gaming's future, but not all have come to fruition. Phil Spencer, the head of Xbox and Windows Gaming, his tenure brought bold promises from enhanced AAA games to cloud gaming dominance and so forth. Yet some fans feel let down as Xbox struggled to deliver on these commitments. One of the most vivid examples to date is the Xbox Series S. While a good option for price-conscious customers, the console has been criticized as a potential bottleneck for developers. Now, this bottleneck has spilled over to the more powerful sibling, the Xbox Series X. And due to the heavily enforced parity clauses between both iterations, gamers of the more expensive model miss out too. Now, what would be otherwise third-party games that have what would otherwise, be third-party games, they have been turned into the proverbial timed exclusive due to the Xbox Series S's inability to handle features in games like Baldur's Gate. We see Baldur's Gate currently seeing a delay in its release date due to bottlenecks that they're experiencing with the Series S. But it's not just third-party games where this is becoming a problem that is also affecting the X. The absence of split screen in Forza Motorsport recently raised concerns about preserving legacy features, which too may be tied to the Series S bottleneck. These unfulfilled promises raise questions about Xbox's direction and its ability to regain its former glory. And with that, let's look in contrast what's been happening with PlayStation. Section 3. PlayStation's resurgence. Now, in contrast, PlayStation's journey has been a tale of redemption, rising from PlayStation 3's challenges to its resurgence with the PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5. The PlayStation 3 era was one where the company's arrogance, due to the previous success of the PlayStation 2 and the PlayStation 1, done them in, for lack of a better word or better description. The expensive development albatross platform did not leave a lot to be desired for the game maker earlier on in that generation. It was so bad for the PlayStation 3 that a 60% failure rate of the competing Xbox 360, also known as the Red Ring of Death, couldn't even help the PlayStation gain more traction. Tack in incidents like the poorly managed network that led to 20 plus days of online outage, third-party developer woes, and arrogant statements around affordability of the console, such as gamers will just have to get a second job. And there you see the platform's problems were mounting. However, the company made a declaration to gamers to do better and to meet expectations. And oh my, did they begin to deliver. The subsequent PlayStation 4 era marked Sony's dedication to quality first-party games, earning accolades for titles like God of War, Last of Us 2, and Ghost of Tsushima. Sony's commitment to both gamers and developers led to the reclamation of the high-end console throne. All right. So with that, now that we've contrasted that brief history of how Xbox really came in and let the trail blaze, but now are disappointing, and PlayStation, how they went from an arrogant tone to now seeing success again, then we got to look back at Xbox. What is causing them to be in such this undesirable place at the moment when it comes to consumer reception? And I think the answer is we'll discover in section 4. Xbox's abandonment of the winning formula. Now, some argue that Xbox's struggles stem from deviating from their winning formula. While some point to PlayStation's success as bandwagonism, Xbox's earlier victory with the 360 contradicts this. The real issue might be Xbox's shift away from its winning strategy. The clash of delivering stellar AAA games versus appeasing their new CEO's vision has left Xbox in a challenging position. What are we talking about? Well, we got a CEO that wants to be delivery and cloud first. They want to make expensive investments in doing so, However, they've abandoned vital things that add to the art, like second party deals and ensuring that there's sound quality check and quality control behind what they release. They're more focused on ballooning the quantity of a subscription service and making sure that games release in cadence. Hence why we got things like Redfall. With that said, there's maybe some other problem in here, in this whole scenario, that is to blame for why maybe some of the miss of the mark has become accepted, where we might have situations where gamers are cutting off their nose to spite their face. What are we talking about? Well, let's talk about it in section 5. The apologists versus accountability. Now, the gaming community's divide between apologists and accountable consumers affects the future of AAA games the most. Blindly defending one's preferred brand hampers the push for better quality and innovation in gaming. Ultimately, holding companies accountable ensures the continuous improvement of AAA titles. We just talked about this in a recent podcast where you had people tell things that were unsubstantiated. There's going to be 40 to 50 frame deltas between the Xbox and PlayStation 5. What does that even mean? It's just a bunch of word salad to make it sound like that the Xbox Series was going to heavily outperform the PlayStation, right? And the Xbox Series S is not a bottleneck. These developers are lying. They want PlayStation to win. All of this quote unquote capping for a brand for no reason besides wanting to belong has confused and misled consumers. And again, people have done this. They have sacrificed the beneficial knowledge that could have been cascaded to their fellow gamers for the sake of how a brand is framed. A brand that most of them are not getting any kickbacks from. Sad. With that said, that leads us to our conclusion. As we conclude our exploration, it's clear that the rivalry between Xbox and PlayStation, their promises, and their struggles all contribute to the evolution of gaming. Healthy competition drives innovation, inspiring groundbreaking experiences that keep us immersed in the virtual worlds we love. The future of gaming relies on passionate gamers holding companies to their commitments, ensuring a vibrant landscape of top-notch AAA games. Thank you for joining us on this journey through gaming history. Remember, it's not just about the console wars, but about the experiences they bring to us all. And with that said, folks, that's it from your boy. Let me know what you think about all this in the comment section below, because like we always say, who cares what I think? But if you like what I had to say, check out the links below to follow me. They'll lead you to the Broadband Bullies PNTS Network, Hard Knock Digital Culture, and yes, Cloud Dosage. With all that said, peace. Have a wonderful gaming day. All right, folks, we did that in one take. We'll chop that video up, or we're not chopping it up. We're just going to review it, make sure everything is okay. We're going to add some captions to it, and then we'll upload it. It'll be up there probably like Sunday or Monday or something like that. But yeah, that is, I like to give you guys a peer into what I do when I'm creating a video. That's simply it. I have a script. I go through it in one take. I'm not going to sit there for hours chopping up stuff. Now, people may say, well, MM2K, when you have some stumbles or you may cough a little bit because that's not ironed out of the video, it may cost you some views. Whatever. I don't have 4 or 5 hours to sit there and chop up a video. We play our music in the background. When we come across systems like we use, people may question when I do editing, use editing software. I use Adobe Premiere. It is a great platform, but the problem with Adobe Premiere, I would actually do a lot more editing if Adobe Premiere made it easy for me to say for these videos, I just want you to randomly pick videos from this slot. For this audio, I want you to randomly pick video from this slot. If they did that and I didn't have to go and edit those parts in, if I didn't have to go and edit the video and audio parts in, and they would randomly pick it from like a pre-uploaded selection of videos and audio, then I would use that all the time, because then what that would allow me to do is make edits to where I would mess up or things weren't so smooth without the audio and the video being affected. But see, if I take this video and I cut out portions, you're going to see the skip in the audio, you're going to see a skip in the video. And to me, that's unattractive. That's even more unattractive. You know what I mean? So, yeah, if we find a way, and there's possibly a way to do that. If we find a way to do that through Adobe Premiere, we'll do it. But right now, I'm just one take Moz. You know what I'm saying? And I'm okay with that. All right. With that said, let's do this. We've cut the video. Let's talk about it. There were 4 topics or 5 that we went over. The significance of healthy competition, Xbox's unfulfilled promises, PlayStation's resurgence, and Xbox's abandonment of a winning formula, and apologists versus accountability. I'll just touch on each of them, briefly. The significance of healthy competition. A lot of people say, well, all these platforms are great and just enjoy them. Pew, 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 pew. Pow, pow, pow. That may be the case. Like me as a hardcore gamer, even though my focus for the large part is on AAA genre defining titles, I want to own everything. I would love to own everything. I want to own Xbox. I want to own Switch. Now, my thing with Switch is I don't do 30 frames per second. So I'm just letting you know right now, I'm not playing it. I refuse to do 30 frames per second. So I'm not going to spend money. It's just going to be a waste. And some people say, oh, MM2K, that's so, that's so anal and this, that, whatever. Look, just like some of you are not going back to 480i or 480p, I'm not gaming. Like, once visual standards or atmospheric standards have been set, like for instance, when you watch Netflix, back in the day, 480i or 480p, that was it. That was the standard, and things look cool on that. But once your eyes get trained with certain atmospherics and certain visuals, especially when you're a tech enthusiast like me, you don't go back. You might, for nostalgic purposes, you might tinker with something, but you may not go back. So I understand if you're a newer gamer and this is new to you, and you haven't, 480i or 720p might not be a problem for you. It's a problem for me. Like, I'm not gaming in 720p. I'm not gaming in 480, and I'm not gaming in 30 frames per second. I'm not gaming in anything that's consistently under 1080p. I'm not gaming in 30 frames per second. Like the least amount of frames that I'll deal with is maybe like 45 frames per second. I'm not gaming in anything that, where the max is less than 45 frames. You know what I'm saying? I've made exceptions with PlayStation though, because their technology is so smooth that I've enjoyed Last of Us 2 in 30, but I'm not going to do it again because, since the last time I played Last of Us 2 to now, I haven't played a 30 frames per second game. The only 30 frames per second game that I tried to play was, what's it, Redfall, and that was just, it wasn't even the 30 frames per second was the least amount of that game's worries. That game is just atrocious. It's a horrible game. But yeah, there are standards that a lot of us that have been doing this for a long time that we have, and we're not forgoing those standards. So even though platforms have their benefits, people want to see competition, because competition means that everybody is trying. It influences everybody's desire to do better. And if you don't understand the whole gaming dynamic of how things work, then you don't understand why competition is a necessity. You have publishers and developers. Like, if developers ran everything, you wouldn't necessarily need competition, but you would need influence. Like, if developers had the money that they needed, they didn't have to deal with publishers and their greedy business mindsets, and the delivery of the art predominated the decision making, you would just simply have a situation where a Baldur's Gate would come out. Well, not Baldur's Gate, because we actually got developers whining. I can't believe that, but we'll talk about that later. You would have a situation where a developer would see like a BioShock, and they would say that game was transformative. I either have my take on that game where I feel like I can make that delivery better, or I want to create something as transformative. And then boom. And again, like I said, if the developers were in charge and we're not hamstrung from the publishers, then we would get that. So competition wouldn't necessarily not be needed. It would just be influence. Because publishers are in the mix is different. Publishers only want to make money. That's it. And gaming is the vehicle for them. They're not doing this for the art at all. It's all for money. So when you have a publisher, and I'm talking purely of AAA game development here, I'm not talking about indie publishers. We have game publishers like Wired Games, and they're great. They appreciate the art, and they're looking at ways how to balance, everybody, this being a lucrative venture with maintaining the art. I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about big time AAA, EA, Ubisoft. You know what I'm saying? Those type of publishers. Okay. So because they're trying to make money and they're trying to find the biggest gimmick, and everything is financially involved, they have to be competitive. There isn't we want to do what they've done. No, we got to do better than them, because they're our peers, and the market puts us against each other. The market is going to look at what EA did, how much they made, and then they're going to look at the same thing with us, and they're going to say, okay, your stock has now have been devalued because your competitor is doing better than you. So that forces the publishers to care about what's going on. Because they're in the market, they got to care. Your games are being devalued. No, you're not. EA did this and did that, and you're not doing that, so your stuff is devalued. They are forced to be competitive. So because they're forced to be competitive, that forces them to find out, okay, what really got these gamers excited, and how can we replicate that in some form of fashion? And then that forces them to respect the art, because if the art is behind, if it isn't necessarily a gimmick, but it's the art that's behind, how can we get someone that can replicate that art or create something in the realm of an artistic vision that'll get the same reaction, if not better? That's why competition is healthy, because you're dealing with a business mindset at the end of the day that is signing the checks, that is green lighting these projects. And the only thing that's going to occur, better quality, improvements over time, is that competition. So healthy competition is needed. Section 2, where we talked about Xbox unfulfilled promises. Xbox was known. Look, the prime example. As much as Xbox is known for its technical nerds that do understand and appreciate tech, and even though Bill Gates and Steve Ballmer ended up appreciating the art more than heads of gaming divisions, well, I wouldn't say that, because Sony's heads and Nintendo's, they get it. But it forced Bill Gates and Steve Ballmer to be in the same mindset of those leaders over at PlayStation and Nintendo. Even though that was the case, they understood again what was the compelling factor: the art. So they partnered with good people. They went and did their best to understand the art. And then after understanding the art, they did their best to extract the art and replicate it. That's why Halo was snatched up by them. That's why that's where Knights of the Old Republic came from. That's where Jade Empire. That's where Mass Effect, Colossus, and BioShock. I feel like BioShock is the most transformative game of the last few generations. Like BioShock changed that, and Call of Duty. It's fair to say, because Call of Duty made everything want to be a shooter, and BioShock took so many different elements from different games and mushed them together. Now you see so many games trying to do that, like BioShock. BioShock was at the center of that. So when you had your eccentric game, genre defining title that was really trying to do new things, they got that from BioShock. Everything from skill trees to first person to adding shooter elements and melee elements and fantasy elements, science fiction. I mean, just melding that all together and putting it together perfectly. That's what BioShock did. And I feel like, BioShock was the most transformative game in that space. I mean, in our gaming, in the AAA space. So you had people in Xbox that really trained themselves in the art. Satya Nadella is not going to do that. He could care less about that. Understanding the art, none of that stuff. He doesn't care. Fish rots from the head. When you have a CEO that's over a gaming company, and that CEO cannot relate to the art of gaming, that's going to trickle down. That's going to trickle down to not properly scrutinizing your head of your games division, and asking them how are we so incompetent in putting out things that are appraised, that are quality? How come we can't do that? And understanding, okay, is this the right person to lead the product? I mean, yeah, he has a great knowledge of gaming. He's been around this company for a long time, but does he have an eye for quality? We can't gimmick our way through this. There has to be, when you don't have someone that can relate to the art, they don't understand the quality notion. And then you get a whole bunch, you think it's just about technical capabilities, and to try to match up the quality of the output from your competitor, then you go overboard on your technical promises. We're going to do this, and it just scale up and scale down the Series S and this, that, and the, and you missed the mark on everything. Cloud gaming, you missed the mark on everything. So that's where the unfulfilled promises part comes in. Then we have PlayStation's resurgence. I mean, PlayStation got arrogant. They said, can't nobody touch us. And when you had the Western execs like Phil Harrison and others telling them, no, this Xbox, man, this is a serious threat. And when they got arrogant and said, nah, well, we want to take over the living room. We want to control your freezer and your oven and your TV. So we made the cell processor, and the PlayStation 3 will be part of that process. And these guys are like, you need to pay attention to these Xbox people. They're gonna kill us in the gaming department, and that's really going to, become an issue, because we're not gonna become a staple in the home if we don't solidify the gaming part. They didn't listen, came up with an expensive box, thought people would just buy it and get two jobs, as they said, because it's PlayStation, and Xbox did what no other platform was able to do: compete with PlayStation, run neck and neck in console sales by the end of the generation, but also by the end of the generation, blow them out of the water in software sales, which is the most important thing. So therefore, Xbox won that generation. I know a lot of people say Xbox never won a generation. No, Xbox, it's not just about selling consoles. The selling of consoles is just a delivery to the software. Xbox destroyed PlayStation by the end of that generation in software. And by many reports that are out there now, they're still beating them in software. So it talks about the, despite all that happening with the PlayStation 3 era, them realizing, okay, Xbox focused on games, we got to focus back on games too. The irony is, when Xbox felt like that they competed with PlayStation, they did the old typical Microsoft thing. Okay, now we got them. We're gonna kill them. They're done for, because once we beat somebody, they never come back. And then they started trying to go multimedia. We're gonna take over your living room with the Xbox One, and that backfired on them just as bad as it backfired on PlayStation. The problem is, by the end of the 7th generation, PlayStation was starting to reemerge. They came up with PlayStation Plus. They started dropping games like Demon Souls, and that really were coming back true to form. The platform was getting easier to develop for. So they were really picking up stride in preparation for the next generation. Xbox One never picked up stride. It just kept getting worse and worse and worse and worse. And instead of making the investments at the end of the generation to test out, a quality narrative going into the next generation to give them a boost, they just no, we'll do everything next gen. And it didn't work. It's not working. So now Xbox is in a position to where they may have lost, where PlayStation has made a comeback, robust comeback. And abandoning that winning formula. You know what? And abandoning that winning formula. Triggers. Hold on, let me see something here. What did I do? Okay, I need to change that to 3. And abandoning that winning formula and trying to come up with something completely new that they want to just put a whole bunch of money, that's something that's new and that's unproven, that goes against the quality narrative which gaming was built upon. It's a losing proposal. It's been a losing proposal for them so far. People say, oh, Xbox, they're not worried about console because they got Game Pass and they got PC and then they got cloud. Well, let me ask you this. When you add up all of the users of the Xbox ecosystem, Does it equal PlayStations? It doesn't. Like, there are more PlayStations out there than Game Pass subscribers. I mean, there are more PlayStation 5s than Game Pass. If you look past the core, which is really Xbox Live. When you look past core and you look at Xbox, Game Pass PC, Game Pass console, and Game Pass Ultimate, those products have been around since last generation. And there are more PS5s than those generation, than Game Pass. That's a problem. When you add up all of PlayStation's paid user base, those that either game on a console, those that buy games on the PC, or those that are subscribed to their subscription services, PlayStation still dwarfs Xbox. It's evident in the sales. So when you sit there and say, but they're trying to do this and they've been trying to do that for years. And they're not gaining any traction. As a matter of fact, they're losing traction. They're making less money. They made less money this past fiscal year than they did in 2018. That's the closest they've ever been to PlayStation, was 2018. And they have more offerings as far as how you can grab their product and services. They're offering more now than they did in 2018. They've focused and advertised on it more. They have more consoles out, more versions of Game Pass, more games than they had in 2018. And now they're actually doing worse than in 2018. You tell me how successful their plan is. They admitted it in court. They have not met any of their deliverables. They said it in court. Phil Spence, when they were asked, are you meeting any of your deliverables? Phil said no. Expect another wave of changes and another set of promises thrown away. Which leads us to the last part that we were talking about, apologists versus accountability. They only get away with this because of the apologists. The people that are worried about, oh, how are you framing Xbox? How are you talking about them? Oh, you're being so mean about them. Those people that excuse them selling falsehood to fellow consumers, and then those consumers waking up and realizing, oh, hold on, this is not what I was told. This is not why I paid for this. And them being considered crybabies because they're simply being consumers. You are the ones that are making this possible for Xbox to get away with this. What's going to end up happening is they're going to dog them out, and the things that you're looking for, the little minuscule things that they are doing right that have you happy, they're going to come for that too. And then there's going to be nobody defending you, because the people that got burnt, they would have left. And the few people that are left that really don't care about that stuff was going to look at you just like the same way you looked at the others and say, what are you crying about? Who cares? Just pick up the controller and go pew, 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 pew. So that's my synopsis on everything. Hope you enjoyed that. And then, like I said, that video will be up in the next few days. All right. With that said, let's go on to the next part, which is Baldur's Gate. I want to talk about this whole Baldur's Gate thing. Here, let me do this. Part 2 is going to be Baldur's Gate. I'm very agitated on how the Baldur's Gate conversation is being framed. What am I talking about? Baldur's Gate 3 has seemed like a gem. And I've had a lot of experience with the game, and I love isometric games like that. As a matter of fact, after this stream is done, we are going to finish my Baldur's Gate playthrough. But one of the things that have bothered me is how people have framed the marvel of a game that Baldur's Gate appears to be in totality. And they're saying things like, well, don't expect this from all developers. And this goes back to what I was describing prior to why competition is needed between PlayStation and Xbox, because you have this dynamic where publishers, if allowed, will rob the art of gaming and will rob us of opportunities of getting genre defining experiences more often. I want to show you guys something that to me is just comical. Let's see here. Let's see if I can find this. How come I don't have it? There we go. All right, here it goes. Let's put it on the screen. So this came from, what is this guy? Account executive at Evolve PR. This guy's name is Sean. And Sean says, please, okay. So there's an IGN tweet that went out there that says, while Baldur's Gate 3 is being widely celebrated by fans and developers alike, some are panicking that this could set new expectations from fans. Let's do this. Let's read the article. Let's react to this article. I haven't read this article. No thanks. I don't want nothing to do with it. Okay. So it says, while Baldur's Gate 3 is widely celebrated by fans, developers alike, some are panicking that this could set new expectations from fans. Good. In this opinion from Destin Legary, we explore why fans feel this way, why they're celebrating. Okay, so Destin put out a video. We're not going to watch the video. Or will we? All right, look, we'll react to the video because we're gonna use it under fair usage. So let's do this. I'm gonna get past this stupid. We can skip it in 14 seconds. It's a commercial for Google Play. As soon as it. Okay, so let's listen to what Destin has to say, and then we're going to come back on the back end and react to it. Here we go. Let's see if we can. And let's unmute this. Let's go.
At its peak, a whopping 800,000 plus concurrent players were playing this weekend, catapulting it to the number 8 most played of all time spot. The gaming community has sung its praises, and it's incredibly refreshing to play a feature-complete game of this caliber on day one. But AAA game developers want you to know that this is rockstar level nonsense for scope, that it's foolhardy to set expectations higher, and Baldur's Gate 3 should not be used as a raised standard to RPGs going forward. Why was the first response to defend the current state of AAA gaming as opposed to saying, hey, maybe we can learn a thing or two from Baldur's Gate 3 and make our game better for our customers. This all kicked off way back on July 8th, a lifetime ago by internet standards, I know, when a writer and BAFTA nominee, Xavier Nelson, took to Twitter to express concerns about Baldur's Gate 3, namely that fans would use Baldur's Gate 3 to apply criticism or a raised standard to RPGs going forward. My rebuttal is, why shouldn't customers have raised standards? Taking it a step further, why shouldn't some AAA developers raise their own standards? Are we really going to pretend that consumers shouldn't be a little upset right now and hoping for an improvement in the industry going forward? Rockstar just announced a $50 conversion of the original Red Dead Redemption for the PlayStation 4 and Switch that has no mention of a 4K update, no mention of 60 FPS, and no mention of multiplayer support. The game came out 13 years ago, and the Xbox port does everything they're offering and then some for free with your 360 copy. Go buy a brand new copy of the Game of the Year edition on Amazon right now for $30 and you're good to go. Star Wars Jedi Survivor, when released on PC, had furious fans citing numerous problems getting the game to run, frequent crashes, and similar problems on the PlayStation 5 and Xbox. EA apologized and is still working to fix the issues. Destiny 2 just released a State of the Game blog saying, amongst other things, that they don't have the resources to release new ritual armor every season. But that same studio manages to create new armor sets in the shop for up to $20 a pop without fail every season. Diablo 4 unabashedly has several character skins priced at $20 each and just released their first season that had a patch that was so poorly thought out that the developers had to have an emergency live stream to apologize and have since begun working to revert those changes.
We don't plan on doing a patch like this ever again.
Okay, you need a more comparable RPG example of why fans are heralding Baldur's Gate 3 as a breath of fresh air? Look no further than Mass Effect Andromeda, which was widely panned.
Sorry, my face is tired from dealing with everything.
Or Cyberpunk 2077 that made promises about last-gen game consoles that it couldn't keep. It took CDPR almost a year to get that all sorted out. I'll make this as clear as possible to contextualize how fans are feeling. It feels like money has become more important than the core experience for fans. That's why Elden Ring, Baldur's Gate 3, and even The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom are being widely celebrated. So what is up with the excuses? A game came along that is amazing, is selling well, is being praised by developers and fans alike, and the response is, well, we can't do that. Well, sweet. If that doesn't get me hyped for Mass Effect 4, I don't know what will. Xavier's tweet was well-intentioned, and he went on to add a lot of important context, but I think it misses the perspective of the consumer. We don't know anything about game design or how hard it is. We just know that Destiny is deleting hundreds of dollars worth of expansions when they feel like it, that Diablo is constantly reminding us to buy skins in their store, and most PC ports have been abysmal lately. Remember, that tweet was made nearly a month before Baldur's Gate 3 blew up, and it was still contentious with fans speaking up about their frustrations and developers chiming in to say what felt like, game development is hard, you don't get it, be quiet. Baldur's Gate 3 is a game from a large, passionate studio that refuses to add microtransactions, gave players early access so they could address any problems that arose before launch, and is taking Steam charts by storm. So why should fans not use that as a gold standard of how to do it right? And why would a AAA studio not look at it and say, hey, maybe cramming microtransactions into our game isn't a good look? When Mass Effect 4 comes out, I don't want to see a $20 Liara skin, and I hope that its performance is tested across all platforms before release. Am I in the wrong for not wanting microtransactions and a stable video game at launch? Credit where credit's due now. There have been some really good examples of AAA games like the Dead Space remake and the Resident Evil 4 remake come to mind, both of which have been massive successes for EA and Capcom. Vampire Survivors came along and took the internet by storm last year. Do I need to bring up Elden Ring again? But that tweet blew up in the development sphere, and frankly, the pushback is just ridiculous. Developers should be looking at what Baldur's Gate 3 did and trying to replicate where they can, not jumping up to defend games that are cramming in practices that fans are getting fed up with. And make no mistake about it, these decisions impact game design. Many games are utilizing battle passes and player engagement as a metric of success. For a player, that means more grindy missions. That means more reminders to stop in the shop. It means a boring grind because keeping players engaged is a key metric. Many of the people who came out to talk about why Baldur's Gate 3 shouldn't be the new standard have since walked back those statements, and I'm glad, because if the industry can't take a good hard look at what's going wrong, why fans reacted the way they did to Elden Ring and Baldur's Gate 3, and then make impactful changes, we're screwed. Also, people seem to be using the fact that Larian is a big studio against them, the fact that they had a long development cycle against them. Really? Blizzard is also a huge studio with over 8,500 employees across several offices. They credited every employee at Blizzard in the release of Diablo 4. Bungie is a huge studio with over 1,552 employees across several offices. BioWare is a huge studio with over 500 employees across several offices. And Larian is also a large studio with over 400 employees across several offices. All of them have established beloved IPs with a ton of lore to pull from. All of them have a lot of money to make video games. And all of them had a long time to make anything they wanted to make. To say Baldur's Gate 3 is successful because it's aligned with Dungeons and Dragons is insanity. You think 800,000 Steam players are playing a game called Baldur's Gate 3 because of Dungeons and Dragons? No, it's clearly gone far beyond that audience. I don't know anything about Dungeons and Dragons. I didn't know this game had anything to do with Dungeons and Dragons. And you know why I'm playing it? Because I like good games with a heavy focus on storytelling and bears. But anyway, it wasn't all doom and gloom from the development side. Thank you, Juno Blees, formerly of Riot, for jumping in and echoing exactly what I'm saying here. Her quote tweet reads, "I can't disagree with this one more. Whenever a game disrupts the industry and delights players beyond expectations, it absolutely raises industry and genre standards regardless of why and how. We should look at the Larian success story and ask ourselves, how are we going to make our games better and create the next games that shake up the industry? Players should and must always expect more from us, never less. Thank you." I implore AAA devs to look at these games that are being celebrated and look at your pipeline to see why the consumer is getting frustrated about the experience I outline in this video. And obviously try and make an improvement, because telling me how hard it is when you're breaking profit and revenue records isn't a super compelling argument from the customer's perspective. Is Baldur's Gate 3 an outlier? Yes, but I for one wish it could become the standard, and being told to shut up because I don't know game design doesn't feel super constructive. But hey, I'm just some idiot on the internet who doesn't know anything about game design. I guess I'll just go buy my horse armor and call it a day. Enjoy your $20 on top of your $100 for the collector's edition, on top of your $15 for the battle pass. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below, because I get why you're frustrated, and it's really frustrating to see people not saying, hey, maybe we could learn a thing or two from Larian. I'm enduring Baldur's Gate 3, and I hope game development continues to grow from where it is today. I hope you do too. Let me know what you think in the comments below. And for more on all things gaming, keep it right here on IGN.
It's on at...
Okay, give me a second. I'm writing something. Let me because I gotta be honest with you. Wow. Geez, man. Maybe it's me getting in my old age, and I know you guys are gonna clown me over this. I'm very passionate about gaming. I mean, as a young boy who was surrounded by just crazy family that were doing very bad things out there in the world, and them trying to pull me in that influence, and me having a subsect of family members that were big on gaming and said, nah, man, we're not going to let you fall by the wayside. I grew up in a single parent home. My mother tried very hard to provide for us. She had like 3 or 4. She's always, when they say pull yourself up from your bootstraps, me and my siblings, she provided for us and always had like 2 or 3 jobs, right? And me in particular is kind of like the someone like the middle child. It was hard for getting recognized. So I kind of latched on to other people doing not so good things. And then when family members that knew better, that came from, more constructive homes, I want to say my home was dysfunctional, but they had more support. They said, you know what? No, we're not going to let you do this, man. When you're too smart for this, you don't need to follow them. We're going to take you by the wings and have you follow us. And they got me involved in tech and video games and stuff like that, to where instead of me running the streets doing bad stuff, I'm out at the arcades, you know what I'm saying, and following their influence. So yeah, I get passionate about gaming, very passionate about gaming, because not just because of how life-changing it was, but it was so influential because of the power that gaming can wield. You know what I'm saying? And some of the more challenging periods of life, before I got married and started having kids, I would just buckle down and play my games, man. And it would keep me at ease. It would keep me from being stressed out and all that other stuff. And so gaming is important to me. And always knowing about that next genre defining experience, reading about it in the magazines, watching it go through its development course, saving up for that experience, going to the to the GameStop or the electronic boutique at a midnight release, all that stuff from child to adult, that's always carried over with me and has always been important. That big game, you know what I'm saying? I remember when Borderlands was first released, and I was at the midnight release there with my youngest daughter, you know what I'm saying? Gaming culture has been really part of what I've been engrossed in for a very long time. It's very important to me, very important to my older brother, very important to the sector of our family that are the nerds, the tech enthusiasts or whatever, that, like I said, stayed away from the rest of the family and found solace in being the nerds that we are. So yeah, that's why, not just me, I'm not the only one that does, I don't pioneer it, but that's why me and others, I feel like they probably maybe had similar stories, where I and others don't look at gaming as just some digital Uno, right? We don't look at gaming as just some way to go pew, 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 and do it digitally, and we just marvel on the tech. I mean, we marvel on the tech too, but that's why the art, the atmospherics, and the engrossment that games can create, the worlds that are built, and the horizons that it can provide to you. That's why that's important, and that's why we try to safeguard it through shows like this, through platforms like this, to where, hold on, that AAA, that genre-defining development, man, we got to make sure that stays razor sharp, and these are the people that are involved. These are the people making promises. Hold on, y'all got to do better. That's why we defend it, and we debate the way that we do. And it's refreshing and at times our passion, shoots what we say past each other, where people say, oh, you're just a pony, or oh, you're just a bot, and all that other stuff, and it causes friction, a lot of friction nowadays, because of what's happening is, I think for everybody, gaming is lessening in quality for the genre defining seeker. Don't get me wrong. There's people like Jason Schreier, Adine Takahashi, and others who just like generally powering on something and playing a game. The more the experience, the merrier. They're happy with there just being a bunch of cool things being tried. Well, where there's others who were seeing the dawn of gaming, starting with the PlayStation 2, Xbox, in GameCube generation, and where we're seeing people being innovative and really working hard to land on that innovation and bring gaming forward. And we feel like now, with all the technology that's out there now, that we want to keep improving on that track to where it's just becoming a thing about whipping out games, finding something that was successful out there and just repeating it, conveyor belt, where it's becoming more about the quantity than the quality. And I think the quality is being ignored, erroneously, when it was the quality that made gaming so big now. I think everybody across the board, I don't want to say everybody, but I think the most influential gamers out there across the board, I'll say it like that, the most influential gamers across the board, whether you're happy, whether you feel like you got to defend Xbox, whether you feel like you got to criticize them, or however you land with any platform. I think gamers across the board, the most influential gamers across the board, we're all looking for the same thing. I'm looking for it, and others are looking for it. And we're all saying to each other that the quality of gaming has decreased across the board. 2023 is a great year because we're seeing more quality presented than we've had in recent years. But that experience, that BioShock, like BioShock, when did BioShock come out? BioShock came out in 2018. We haven't had anything on the level of BioShock as far as, 2007. BioShock came out in 2007. That's 16 years ago. We haven't had anything genre defining on the level of BioShock and Mass Effect, Fallout, those games. It was like in that era, it was like a golden age. But why does it have to be? Why can't we increase the momentum there? It's like it came to a standstill, and it came to a standstill because of replication and money, because of these publishers. And I'm going to say this. Even though we're all looking for the same thing, despite how our content is created and catered, the influencers all feel the same. They feel that way. Destin, who I don't agree with anything, because I feel like often he's decided to become an Xbox apologist in a lot of ways. Maybe because it's, being pro Xbox is way more lucrative now than it's ever been. Like I said, the same people who were defending the platform when it was plausible to say, they just give them time. Those same people who were getting like 200 views a show, you know what I'm saying, hovering around there, now they're getting thousands of views a show. You had people that were PlayStation diehards who switched over to Xbox. No explained reason. Because of how lucrative it is being a PlayStation content creator. All you got to know is where that audience is at. And once you find that Xbox audience, just chuck something in the field where they're at and it's success. I've seen it happen. But despite all that, I think deep down inside, we're all looking for the same thing. We're looking for a return of a focus on quality. Even though we may argue differently, who's going to curate that, who's going to be best at that, where you should look for that, we're all looking for the same thing, right? And Destin elegantly spoke to that there. I'm going to say this and I'm going to get laughed at. I got emotional listening to what Destin said. I kind of got emotional, like little choke, just a little bit, because what he said there capsulized the trials that the gaming consumer is facing right now. And to hear developers, instead of marvel, congratulate, and aspire to try to capture that and crystallize that same magic that Larian has, because that's what everybody did with BioShock. That's what everybody did with Mass Effect. I mean, they said, look, it's going to be hard for us to do, but we're going to aspire to that. Instead of you seeing that happen, and now, what do you see? You're seeing gamers come up with more excuses than polka dot dots. I got to find Dustin's YouTube channel. Hold on one second. And I'm going to put up there what? Let me see. Destin. Oh, there he goes. Legary. I still got a problem with the cat. I still got a problem with the Xbox cap. Or maybe, is this an IGN video? Yeah, this may be an IGN video. Let's do IGN. Maybe it's on their YouTube page. Yeah. When I put in IGN Baldur's Gate 3, it popped up. Okay, yep, it is an IGN video. This is man, Jesus Christ. Not okay. So here's what I had to say. I said, I don't normally agree with Destin on anything gaming. That said, this is not only his best video, not just IGN's best video, but one of the best analytical videos on gaming in many years. Period. Kudos, man. Baldur's Gate 3. And let me see, Destin. Let me see if I can find Destin on Twitter and tag him. There he goes. Yeah, he deserves all the praise in the world for this. Baldur's Gate 3. Let me see. What else can I put? Quality matters. Yeah. Quality matters. Nah, I ain't got enough room for that. Man, this is had me choked up, man, a little bit. I had to mute the mic. Like, wow, I was like, wow. This is my favorite video. How can I well, let me see, what can I save this to? Great videos. Yeah. This is on my great videos list. This is, man. Jeez Louise. All right. Let me see if I can find my. Here we go. Yeah. That video is that video should be enshrined. Wow. Yeah, I mean, let me just, there's really not much I can add to it but to say this. In response to here, let me see if I can get out of here. How do I get out of here? Okay, there we go. So let me say this. What I was originally responding to this tweet Here, let me show you guys. It says, please put some thought into it before you proclaim this is what AAA should be moving forward. 6 years, 400 plus people with insane funding due to the IP have given BG3 a big boost. It's truly unrealistic to expect this on a regular. So let me say this. Let's address each points here. It says, please put some thought into it before you proclaim this is what AAA should be moving forward. Whenever somebody sets the bar, if there's a possibility for that, we should get developers. This is what they should aspire to. Not, oh, that was a great experience and that's good, but we'll leave that to them. AAA means top notch. AAA means the best. AAA means the creme de la creme. So if the bar for creme de la creme has been set and you're not achieving that bar, then what you're achieving is not AAA anymore. This statement is the antithesis of AAA. That's like if I come out with a car that can fly, make cookies, turn into a transformer, and they're like, oh, well, they had these resources or whatever and such and such. That's why they could do. Then look, if that is what a AAA car now is encompassed of, then that's what you got to operate to. Like nobody looked at an electric car. I mean, I know that was the most extreme example they used, but nobody looked at Tesla and electric cars and said, oh, no, that's just on a whole nother level. We're not. Other car developers started developing to those similar capabilities because the bar was raised. When what's it called? When driving or what is that? Where the car parallel parks itself. Nobody said, "Oh, well, that's them. They got all them resources or whatever, and those efficiency rates, and their government helps them." Nope, they don't say that. They're like, now the bar has been raised. This is what we got to do. We weren't even thinking about this, but this is what we got to do. This is such a defeatist comment, and what it tells you is that there needs to be a change. See, this is why we fight so much over the whole platform thing, because I'm happy. Again, they're not knocking my socks off with everything that they do, but I'm happy that PlayStation is willing to take the risk to put out the AAA games with quality that they do. It's a huge risk for them. Like they said, only 4 out of 10 are profitable. Only 2 out of that 10, justify even trying. This defeatist attitude from these developers is something that's been dropped on them from these publishers, because these publishers have been so horrendous in the turnaround times, the expectations, the money grabs they've done. The industry people who would look at what Larian is doing and saying, oh no, we aspire to this, they're gone. In Destin's video, he talked about Mass Effect Andromeda. Well, you get that as an end result because the BioWare team that was, responsible for the original Mass Effect, EA drove them away. They're gone. So not only did we lose the development talent that were the standard bearers of a more achieve mind state, and now we got these defeatist developers to deal with, but they're now just cozying up and just accepting the reality that's presented to them from the publishers. They no longer want to fight. It's a losing proposal. Something has to change. How development works has to change. The current publisher relationship sucks. And I think having EA, Take-Two, whoever it is, Embracer, any of these groups be responsible for AAA development, that has to go out the window. I think what Baldur's Gate has done is showed us there's a new reality. That new reality is, hey, look, get a large team. Let's work together. Let's work on securing funding the best way that we can. Let's work out exclusive deals with platforms for early access to help get funding from them. And let's develop a slice for them for the early access while we use their funding to flesh everything else out. And then let's give them a game, and then we'll keep developing, we'll keep talking, we'll keep making upgrades. Everybody knows this is early access. It's replayable, this and that. Maybe what we'll do is, for early access, we're going to release acts 1 through 5. What Larian did is they just released acts 1 through 5. Maybe we'll release acts 1 through 3 year 1, and in year 2 we'll do 4 and 5. You know what I'm saying? With year 3 is going to be when the full-fledged game is released. And then by the time the full-fledged game is released, okay, now we got this fantastic, we've already built a player base that's already helped and invested. But now we're going to get more gamers involved because now we've built this game. We've had people already put into it and give us money. And these are gamers that are put into this that understand this is early access, so they understood what they were getting. So they're not sitting there looking at some quarterly report and going, okay, no, you need to put this game out tomorrow because we funded it. We ain't got that to deal with. That totally takes the publishers out. And as a developer, I would want this. I would want the publishers out necessarily. I only want, if you're Take-Two or if you're EA and you own the publisher, you own the developer, fine. But if you're an independent developer and you got to carve out deals with different publishers, Larian just showed you how to get rid of most of your headache. And like Destin put out there effectively, don't give us that crap on their huge studio, whatever, with funding. They're a huge studio that did everything that you can do. Some of you guys are much larger than them, like he said. The Diablo studio was thousands of employees. He named a bunch of studios that are bigger than Larian. Larian went to Google and said, look, we'll give you early access. They could probably approach a Steam. You don't want to give us the early, okay, well, we'll do the early access through 2 platforms. We're going to do it through, what's it called? We'll do it through, what do you call it? We'll do it through we'll do it through an Xbox, a PlayStation, whatever, to fund it. And then we'll go to Epic. Epic is giving out a bunch of money for exclusive. You know what I'm saying? That's how you get your funding. With the understanding that we're paying you for early access. You don't have a say-so of the full release. You know what I'm saying? But we're going to give you such a significant slice in the early access, and that's going to be attractive to so many gamers because, you know what I'm saying, that they're going to get a slice of a well-developed slice of the game. It's going to look good, play well, you know what I'm saying? And then we're just going to make tweaks where we need to. All we got to do is come up with a game plan, and we just got to develop for these first few acts. And we got to get funding to secure that. So how do we do that? We approach these people for that funding. Then we use the additional funding from the purchasers to continue to add to the game. And we can do that to avoid having to work with a publisher. But if that doesn't work and we got to go to a publisher, at least a huge chunk of the game is developed already, and the publisher will come in at the tail end to where they're not really throwing us off. Like maybe we'll need to work with the publisher as far as the last 2 or 3 years of development, but publishers can stomach 2 to 3 years. It's when things get into 4 years or 5 years, and a game might need 6 years where things start getting murky. They gave you an example of how to handle this. And you're sitting here complaining when you've been given a good blueprint. I wonder who owns Evolve. What are their games? Evolve PR. What games have they developed? Okay, this seems. Oh. Okay. So this is more like a AA developer. They're not even a AAA developer. Like what are they talking? Why is he even in this conversation? This is like a AA. These are all like AA games. What is going on here? Repulsive. This is a AA developer. Like, do you think people are fooled in believing that your games are AAA? Or is this a publisher? I think this is a publisher. Yeah, I'm starting to think that Evolve is a publisher. Evolve might be a publisher. Video game marketing agency trying not to suck. PR, social, video research. Okay, they're not even. Okay, they work with game development. They're not a publisher or a developer. Okay, they work with it. Stop it. That's the defeatist. We're going to defend the current publisher relationship because it's the one that presents us the most amount of money. When these big publishers try to find what is it, what gimmick can we come up with, we're going to help them discovering that gimmick. So this PR firm really works with the publisher to make their half-brained, greedy, gimmick-written approaches succeed. They help them find a gimmick. So of course, I shouldn't be shocked. Really repulsive stuff. I'm glad Destin called it out. And and kudos to Larian. Kudos to Larian. Let's do this. Last but not least. All right, let's hold on. Give me a second. I'll be right back, y'all. Okay. This is 2023 Pulse. Let me see. Game Pulse. What do you want? And what do you want, Kitty? Come on, Kitty. Get up here. What I want to do for this Game Pulse, hold on one second. What I want to do for this Game Pulse is talk about the games that I've been playing so far. So I'm going to focus on 4 right now. I really haven't done a lot of games. Well, no, I'm going to focus on 5. Let's start with Forspoken. I've been playing Forspoken. I've enjoyed it. Here, let's do this. Let's do this. Because I gotta make some notes on this. And let's talk about Game Pulse. Make some quick notes on this Game Pulse. What do you want, Kitty? We're not gonna play that game today. Game Pulse. Let's talk about the games that I've played so far. And we're going to talk about Forspoken. We're not here. Get up here. Come on. Stop playing with me. Get up here or I'm going to throw your ass out of here. Forspoken. Yes, that's how I talk to my cat. She does nothing but whine at me too. Forspoken. I'm going to do a little bit of Division 2 because they've had a big year 5 update. We're going to do Dead Island. What else? Baldur's Gate. Gate 3. What else? Remnant 2. And then prospects like I haven't played Final Fantasy 16. Spider-Man 2. Starfield, and Helldivers. That's basically okay. So those are the games that have caught my eye this year that I've either played or I'm looking at. Let's start with Forspoken. Forspoken is a good game. I never had any problems with the game at launch. I know a lot of people were upset about the game performance at launch. I really didn't have a problem. Could it have looked prettier? Sure. But with that said, there was a recent update. I'm okay with it. The recent update, it does make it look better. And the performance has always been fine with me. So if I had to rate that game, I'd give it a C+. You know what I mean? Division 2, year 5. Man, it's tough. I've enjoyed playing it, but man, it is tough. I still got to get more into it. It's kind of hard for me to say right now, so I'm going to leave that open because with all the games that are out right now, I really haven't given it the attention that it needs. Dead Island 2. I'm gonna be honest with you. I was more excited about the game at launch than I am now. Part of the problem is that I'm not really digging the loot reward system. The loot reward ratio I'm not liking. I know I'm not that far in the game. Gameplay is fun, but the loot reward is not the best for me right now. I'm gonna give that I'm still enjoying that experience. I'm going to give that like a B-. Baldur's Gate, really haven't got a chance to dive deep into the finished product, but you guys know that, because of all the accolades that it's getting, I'm happy about that. Seems like it is a quality AAA game. And I'll confirm that for myself once I get a hold of it. Remnant 2, I'm really early on there as well. I'm really having fun with the experience. I really think this is a game. This might end up being my game of the year. I know a lot of people are like, well, what about Baldur's Gate? But Remnant 2 is really a game up my fancy, tickles my fancy. So I really think that this is going to be my game of the year by the time everything's said and done. Final Fantasy 16. I'm still very interested in playing this game. Still very interested. It's surrounded by some powerhouses, but as soon as I've only had so much money allotted. I'm not a Final Fantasy person, but this one might change all that. My hope is that you guys will help me fund that experience. So we'll soon see. Hold on one second. All right. Next up is Starfield. I'm still interested in this game. I can't say very, because the console performance, like, I really want a reason to get an Xbox. And that would be, look, just at the depth of this game and everything surrounding it, it reasonably should be a console seller. But it's only 30 frames. Hell of high disappointing. I would have gotten a console for it. It would have been a lot easier for me to go get a Xbox Series X for Starfield and play it there, 60 frames per second, you know what I'm saying, at an enjoyable rate, versus having to find the right native computer parts to play it on PC. Now, the last glimmer of hope, which I hope that they do, is that the game comes out on the NVIDIA GeForce Now day and date. If it does that, then it's a wrap. I'm fine. So I'm interestingly watching that one. Spider-Man 2, really wasn't interested at first because I'm not big on the Spider-Man series, but then I saw a lot of the marketing behind it and the things that were shown. So I'm slightly interested. I'll put that there, slightly interested in that one. Still haven't decided if I'm gonna, right now that's in the you gotta gift me status. You know what I'm saying? And then last one is Helldivers 2, co-op game, right up my alley. Shoot 'em up. They said it's real gory. I'm interested. I don't know if I'm gonna buy that one or not, because really I can't think of any other games that are coming this year. Even though it's only August, I don't know of any other games that are coming this year, like really after Starfield, that I would buy. So we'll see. And that's it for my my roundup of the 2023 Game Pulse. I think this is a year with a lot of quality games. Now, as far as mind-blowing games, I don't know. I mean, we'll see how Baldur's Gate lands. But as far as mind-blowing, I don't know. But a lot of quality games are there. All right. And that is it for our show. Hope you guys appreciated it. Thank you very much. We had this come at a special time today. Hope you guys appreciate it. With that said, we appreciate everybody. Hold on. We appreciate everybody, and we hope that you enjoyed the show. And we are going to do some Baldur's Gate streaming. So join us again at youtube.com/@MM2K Gaming. With that said, we appreciate everybody. Until next time, have a wonderful, wonderful gaming day. Peace.